Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 64th lesson of A Course in Miracles. And I have been looking forward to this interview with this gentleman. So I am so very excited, y'all. Lesson 64 states, let me not forget my function. Let me not forget my function. And a portion of paragraph 1 in that lesson reads, today's idea is merely another way of saying, let me not wander into temptation. The purpose of the world you see is to obscure your function of forgiveness and provide you with a justification for forgetting it. And further down in paragraph 2, it reads, to the Holy Spirit, the world is a place where you learn to forgive yourself what you think of as your sins. And note the emphasis on the word think, that you think of as your sins. So today, everyone, I am honored to welcome our guest today, who has crossed over during his heaviest moments and was given the opportunity to remember his function of forgiveness of himself and others. Branden Densmore, CEO of Gathered Minds Media LLC, had an NDE and has been called by Spirit to create life-transforming opportunities, magic doors, he calls them, for heart-centered, unique people to fearlessly manifest their dreams while having fun. Branden, welcome to the show. We are so pleased to have you here.
I'm happy to be here. It's a pleasure. Okay, so I'm going to keep this a little bit as short as I can. So when I was 8 years old, I was sexually molested. And that was kind of like the first chink in my armor, so to speak. Like it kind of crushed my self-esteem. And I was made fun of all through school and didn't get along with students and teachers. I hated school, dropped out in the 9th grade. And then at age 21, I was in a fist fight. So that was my first near-death experience, and it was just total blackness. It was just the absence of everything. And after that experience, I really started questioning who I am and why I'm here, and discovered that I had a passion for learning. Because after that near-death experience, it really made me question my identity. I believed I was stupid. Like I said, I dropped out in 9th grade, felt like I was going nowhere in life, and believed I was stupid. So I read everything I could get my hands on after that first NDE at age 21. I was reading self-help books, spirituality, and studied, realized I had a passion for learning new things. So ended up going back to school and got a GED. And then after that, I enrolled in a community college where I got an associate's degree. And then I went into a program called Exploring Transfer. So it's a program that's administered by the community college system to show community college students what it's like to go to a Ivy League institution. So I went to Vassar College for 6 weeks during a summer intensive program where I took 2 Vassar courses, and I ended up acing both courses. I got a 4.0. Not bad for someone who thinks that they're stupid and going nowhere in life, and dropped out in the 9th grade. So after that, I applied to Vassar full-time and got a full scholarship where I graduated with a bachelor's degree in philosophy. But what people didn't know during this whole educational journey that I was on is that I was addicted to opiates. So when I was 15, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease and rheumatoid arthritis and was put on opiate pain medication at 15 years old. So I realized that, the opiates didn't only treat my pain, which they did well, but it helped my emotions because my self-esteem was shattered. I had a lot of resentment, a lot of harboring of hard feelings, a lot of anger, a lot of fear. And the opiates would take the edge off that and allow me to think more clearly, allow me to socialize better, and to just feel comfortable in my own skin. Anyways, in 2014, I had an overdose. So I was in my mother's apartment and I was waiting for a person to come and bring me some stuff, right? And I was in withdrawals for 3 days. I was just like, oh, is this ever going to end? It was just mental torment. All of the inner voices, the critical voices were just shouting at the top of their lungs. And every little thing that would happen in life, a little annoyance would just be blown way out of proportion. And it's 3 days of this happening. And I'm like freaking out. And finally the guy arrives and I do some of the opiate and my mind settles down. It was heroin, by the way. My mind settles down and I take a breath. Finally, I can relax. Finally, I can think straight. And then I realized that didn't last long. I realized I was dying. So I find myself next to myself, looking at my body. And I'm wondering, gee, what was the point of life? Like I went through, I had a near-death experience at age 21 and I got my act together pretty well. I went on this educational journey and here I am and now my life's over. Like I'm standing next to myself, I'm looking at my body and I'm wondering what was the point of this whole journey anyways? And that's when I became aware of a presence in the room. And I didn't see anything. There wasn't a spirit or anything that I could see. I just felt that someone was there with me. And then that's when everything changed. I was shown two things. I was shown the people that were affected by my death, the family members, the friends, and the grief. And in particular, my mother coming into the room where I was dead on the couch with pus running out of my mouth and my body was discolored and just a corpse. And she found my body and she said, my baby, oh, my baby, no. And just, she just freaked out and I could feel her pain. I knew that I was responsible. And then all of the other people, my father and my friends and at the funeral and just all of how my death affected them. And then I was also shown a future reality that would never happen. Like all of the joys that I was here to experience that I would never experience. All of the people that I was here to help and to serve and to feel good about that I would never be there to do those things. And then all of a sudden, it was like the holodeck. Like I was brought to this other reality and shown these things. Holodeck from Star Trek. Then I'm back in the room and I'm like, I can't let this happen. Like I'll do anything. And I heard a voice say, now your life is over and you wasted it. And it was like a kick in the stomach. It was just like, no, I'll do anything. Just send me back. I'll do anything to overcome this addiction, whatever is necessary. And then bam, I'm back in my body, gasping for breath.
Wow. What an incredible dynamic experience. Thank you so much, Branden, for being so vulnerable with us and sharing your experience. What do you think? Who do you think that voice was, that presence? Do you have it? Have you thought about that?
I have. Maybe it was my higher self. Maybe it was God. Maybe it was Jesus. I can't really pin that down. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was all three. But that's as far as I can really get with that as far as an explanation. But a lot of people have, these. I was watching a video the other day about a near-death experience from a guy that died from an overdose. It caught my attention because I hadn't really watched another video from someone who had a similar experience with an overdose. But I watched his video, and he went to heaven and talked with God, had long conversations, and God brought him to all of these different dimensions and stuff. And the love that he experienced was overwhelming. And I just didn't have that kind of a experience. But I think that God or my higher self, or maybe that's the one and the same. Maybe my higher self is part of God or is God. But I didn't have that kind of experience, but I think I was given what I needed. That I needed that kick in the gut to be able to come back and overcome this addiction. And later on, a year later, I did have this spiritual experience of love. I had an angelic visitation, if you will. And it was like an X-ray of love energy. And when I experienced this visitation, I had all of these thoughts of being unworthy. All of these thoughts of, oh, I did X, Y, and Z in the past. I have X, Y, and Z faults. And this being didn't care at all about that. It was like an X-ray love light that just penetrated me. So yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Wow, that sounds amazing. The things that you were shown in your future, Branden, have you experienced those things? Like the
I
things
have.
that you did, the ways that you would have impacted other people?
Yeah. So like when I had this near-death experience, I was full of the insecurity, the fear, the self-doubt, the resentment, all of these issues, right? And that it was the beginning of a spiritual refinement process where I've been able to kind of clear that stuff out of my system. And here I am. I would never be doing this back then. Like being on camera, people watching me, I believe I'm stupid. Like it just wouldn't have happened, me coming on camera like this and being comfortable. So, now I've married the love of my life, beautiful, intelligent woman. I have a son that is 6 months old. I have money in the bank. I bought a house. I started a business. I own a car. I have a garden. Can I get an amen?
Amen. And so shall it be. I love it.
And I'm helping people.
Yes. Well, talk about how you help people. Talk about now the new space you're in, and what you do with your business.
Yeah. So I'm a certified spiritual coach and a business consultant. So I wear two hats. And with the certified spiritual coaching thing, I help people clarify their purpose and to think about how they can live more closely toward that purpose, lean into that purpose, help them overcome limiting beliefs about themselves, fears, resentments, that kind of thing. And then on the business consulting side, it is helping them to develop a social media presence, to get the foundations in place for their business, whether it's starting a business, expanding a business, clarifying their ideal client, marketing strategies, that kind of thing. But really, it's to help people manifest their dream, whatever it is.
You are speaking my language, Branden, when you say helping them overcome limiting beliefs. I know that we're conditioned into, I often say, we are conditioned into smallness, right? We put ourselves in these boxes. We have beliefs. I can never write a book. I can never go to college. I can never do this. What is your process for helping people to get out of that paradigm of thinking?
There's a lot of different processes out there, a lot of different tools that people can use. But one process that I like to use is you have to first identify what the limiting thinking is. So you write it out on paper, like you write out your stream of thinking, and you'll have a feeling, like a negative feeling. when you have these thoughts. That's how you can kind of identify them. And let's say like you'll think that you're stupid, right? So you'll have something will happen in your life and you'll have a feeling, and then you'll have the thought, I'm stupid. I can't do that. So writing down the circumstances and the inner dialogue and identifying that negative thought clearly, and then rewriting it into its opposite, so that once you can catch yourself in your daily life, when you have that feeling and that negative thought, you can say, okay, there it is. What did I write down as a replacement? Oh yeah, I wrote, I'm very intelligent and I can do X. So then you replace that negative thought with the positive thought. And it really can help you shift your identity. That's the exciting part, because you become a person that doesn't have that kind of thinking anymore eventually.
I love that. I love that. And the first point that you made is having the awareness. Most of the time, we are so much in our heads that we're not even aware that we're thinking thoughts that do not serve us. Most of the time, we all walk around kind of following our stream of mental consciousness, like just following its leadership, instead of saying, hold on, wait a minute, is this true? And recognizing that just because we think something does not mean that it's true. So I love that you help people come to the awareness that this thought does not serve you. Shift that way of thinking. And like you said, and I love the process of writing down a new thought. Writing that down, because it engages other faculties, right?
Yes. It's like the creative process.
Yeah.
You get to get creative with thought and the words that you use.
Yes. I love it, because it all begins with our thoughts. It all begins with our thoughts. So let me ask you this. What was the most significant part of your NDE that you would say made you shift, Branden?
Yeah.
From being on that path to saying, I'm gonna choose something different. What was it that you talked about, the impact that you felt, the pain from your mom? Talk about some of the things that you saw that shifted your thinking.
The main one that really sticks out, because it's almost like a dream. Like you can have a really vivid dream and then it gets kind of fuzzy after a while. So like all the I saw details about the future reality that I was supposed to live, and that's all gotten a little bit fuzzy, but I know that I'm living it. Mm-hmm. And the thing that really is not fuzzy was my mother. Mm-hmm. Finding my body, the look on her face, mm-hmm. knowing that she had the memories of raising me as a baby. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of, this is serious stuff. Like this happens to people. And I couldn't let that happen to my mother.
That's the beauty of being on the other side, is we get to feel how the other person felt. I've heard you talk about spiritual refinement. What does that mean when you say that? What does that mean for you, Branden?
Since that near-death experience, in order to get to where I am now, like owning the house, marrying the wonderful woman, having the baby, like all of this stuff, owning a business, money in the bank, I had to go through a spiritual refinement process. And it's like, I call them spiritual alchemical transformative experiences. So it's like the ancient alchemists, where they were trying to turn lead or heavy metals into gold. But you could think of that as a metaphor for spiritual transformation. So like the heavy stuff that we have inside of us, the resentment, the fear, the self-doubt, the limiting beliefs. Every time you overcome one of these things, you face it, you realize it, you're aware of it, you overcome it. It's a transformative alchemical experience.
Mm.
So there's been a lot of those kind of experiences along the way, to get me into a position where I am now, where I can look at the world without judgment.
Mhm. Mhm.
I can look at people without judgment. I can hear what they have to say and listen. And it feels good. It feels great to be able to be in this position. But it's taken some time.
Okay.
It's taken a lot of these alchemical transformative type experiences to identify what's going on within me so that I can really overcome these things, so that I can be in a position to help this world move into a higher level.
What about your process of forgiveness, Branden? I know that, especially when you opened up your experience, you talked about, trauma and particular abuse.
Mm,
What was your process of forgiving others and yourself?
yeah. So the big one that I've been talking about is how I was sexually molested at 8 years old.
Mhm.
And I had held on to that resentment for over 20 years before this near-death experience that I had. And after the near-death experience, I went into a 7-day detox. And then after that, I went into Alcoholics Anonymous.
Mhm.
So I worked the 12 steps of recovery. And one of those is ridding yourself of resentment.
Mhm.
So like the process. So here I was in my 30s, died from an overdose. And the drugs were a symptom of something deeper.
Mhm. Mhm.
And part of that something deeper was resentment. And I had to learn how to do this thing called forgiveness so that I could get rid of the resentment so I could live. And it's kind of a bitter pill to swallow. When something like that happens, it's hard to let go.
Mhm. Mhm.
So part of it was, so I met with my sponsor, and he told me, we went through step 4, which is letting go of resentments. And first you identify the resentment. And then he said, oh, Branden, you were sexually molested at 8 years old. That's terrible. Like, that should never happen to a child. And I'm really sorry that that happened to you. And I was like, okay, thank you. He said, so you've been holding on to this resentment. You're how old? You're in your 30s, and you're angry at this person. And it happened when you were 8. Yeah. So it's been over 20 years. Yeah. Okay. So, okay, he says, so did you ever consider that he had been sexually molested as a child? I said, no, I never thought about that. He said, so in the 20 some odd years that you've held on to this resentment, you'd never considered that maybe he had been sexually molested, that maybe that's where he learned it.
Wow.
I said, no, I never really thought about that. He said, okay. So this person hurt you, right? Yeah. And you've been holding on to this resentment, and it's all about what he did to you, right? Yeah. Yeah. I hate him because he molested me. Well, that's kind of selfish and self-centered, isn't it, Branden? Pause right there. Let that sink in. That's kind of self-centered of you, isn't it? And then it was like, wow, like I'm being self-centered by being resentful. I thought like I was justified in holding on to this resentment for 20 years. The thing is like I needed to figure out a way on how to let this thing really go.
Mm-hmm.
Because someone would cut me off in traffic and I would go into a rage. But what I realized is that that rage was inside of me for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because of this resentment that I was holding on to, and it would come out in ways that were unexpected. So thinking about the other person, what maybe they have gone through, helps make it more understandable.
Mm-hmm.
And that we live in a world that does have violence in it.
Mm-hmm.
It has all kinds of these things that appear to be very dark, and that this is where we're coming from as a species. We're coming from this place of violence, and pick a piece of paper out of a hat. There's violence, there's war, there's rape, there's XYZ that's happening and happened, and that's our history, and it's inside of us. That helps to make it a little bit more understandable. So understanding it, being aware of it, and then saying, you know what, I release this person who did this to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to look past it as if it never happened. I let you off the hook. I'm going to let you off the hook. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to free you from my judgment.
Mm.
And you know what? I'm going to free myself as well.
I'm going to let that sink in. That's incredible. This is powerful stuff, because this is not you stepped on my toe, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is powerful stuff to forgive, and I love it all. Branden, you are so very relatable. You're so very relatable. And I just appreciate you sharing that process. That I just feel that it's helping so many people. This is a very common experience, unfortunately, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd like to thank my mother, for being there for me through this whole process, and for giving me the love that I needed growing up. And I've got a lot of wonderful people in my life, people that have helped me get to where I am now. So thank you, people.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. So one thing I did want to talk about before I let you go, Branden, is I've heard you mention the importance of, and you just touched on it in the interview that I saw, the importance of recognizing and accepting payments for the services that we offer in the spiritual community. And when I heard it, I thought, oh, somebody is talking about it. Because this is a big deal, and that's why I wanted to talk to you about it. Is a lot of times in the spiritual community, light workers, healers, Reiki practitioners, coaches, spiritual counseling, we have a hard time receiving payment. We have a block that somehow, if we get payment for our services, it cheapens it for some reason. But in every other way of business, everyone understands and respects that balance of energy. For us in the spiritual community, people shy away from it, and it's not healthy. And I'm gonna just say this: I know people who have done Reiki. I know people who do spiritual counseling, and they have a hard time asking for payment. And often they say, "I feel so drained. I feel so drained after I do this," and that is because they're not getting the energy back. So I wanted to hear from you about this.
Yeah, that's something that I've struggled with myself a lot.
Me too.
Yeah. So I wrote down some notes because I want to touch on some important points. And so it's like getting paid, right? Versus spirituality. So as soon as you put like spiritual coach or spiritual healer, or like a doctor doesn't have any issue accepting payment.
Nope.
Is what they do spiritual?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the spiritual tag attached to it.
Mhm.
But what they do is spiritual, because our health is like the foundation from which everything else springs. And even if you look into the history of the medical profession, there's a spiritual undertone to it, with Hippocrates and the serpent wrapped around the staff and all this different stuff. So, but they don't have any problem. You've got Jesus saying things like, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to get into heaven.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then you have stories of Buddha, who left his wealth to go and live with the poor.
Mhm.
He was a prince. He had all the wealth in the world, and he left it all to go live with the poor.
Mhm.
So you have these religious, spiritual concepts that are telling us things about wealth, and this is probably where it comes from. What do you think, Loretta?
I'm glad you asked. I agree. And I would like to actually challenge some of the things. I'm so glad you brought that up. Some of the things that we have, again, what you just touched on is conditioning. And that's what I thought too, that it's from our experience in religion, church, that has given us this perception that money is bad. Money is the root of all the evil. Like all these statements we grow up hearing shape our perception of money. And I would actually like to challenge the validity of that story that Jesus said about the camel in the eye of the needle. And I know people are not going to like what I have to say, but I know that the Bible has been heavily edited to keep us in a place of smallness. That's why you have scriptures that say, slaves, obey your masters. Why would God say something like that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so, but I agree. I think that's where it comes from. And I think it also comes from a lot of people not even maybe trusting the church, that the church is, money is a huge theme in church. Give us your money. We can go and pray to God on your behalf. Give us your money. Give us your money. And so I think a lot of us have blockages in that way, where we kind of, if somebody's from a spiritual perspective, we become suspect of them, right? So that's what I think. But I think you're right on.
And then what's the result from this is that what I see is spiritually heart-centered business owners are broke. Spiritually heart-centered, genuine people, business owners are broke. That hurts.
That does.
And
you're right.
Others never even consider starting a business because of these beliefs and this programming. And there's this shame and guilt around getting paid.
Preach it. Keep going, Brandon. Keep going.
You're liking it? You're liking it?
Yes, I love it. I love it. Yes.
So how do we confidently ask for money without shame or guilt?
What we do, what I think we can do, Brandon, is reshape how we think about it. And I also wanted to specifically highlight psychic mediums as well, because that's become another curse word, the word psychic and medium. And if for some reason a psychic receives payment for his or her services, it cheapens it. She's suspect. She's this, she's that. So I think how we have to, my one of the solutions, I think, Brandon, is re-looking at it as, you know what, receiving payment
It's self-love.
Mm.
It's the balance of energy. I am giving you my time. I'm giving you the abilities I've been given. I am creating a space for your healing, and I need a return on that energy. And that can be in any form, but also including money. I do not think that it is God's intention for us, for those of us who have the intention of healing, to be poor. And how would that be attractive to anybody? So that is
Yep.
one of my solutions. What's your solution, Branden?
I totally agree with what you're saying. And then we wonder why we are tired, why we feel drained, and we don't get any give and take. And there is less power in our ability to help people transform their lives. But like you said, we need to change our thinking. It's like a paradigm shift.
Yes.
So money, you can think of money as our means of making an impact. So there's this dream of being financially independent through doing what you love in service to others. Okay, so money is our means of making an impact. And second thing is we need to realize that there's a difference between greed and prosperity. So people think, oh, I get paid for the service, and it's like they're greedy. Like, oh, I took money to heal someone. That makes me greedy. No, there's a difference between prosperity and greed. Money harnesses the motivation for transformation through people making an investment in themselves. So we place a value on the dollar. So when someone pays you money because they want to transform their lives in some way, that puts their money where their mouth is, and it increases their motivation to transform their lives. So we need to learn that marketing isn't sleazy. People are. Marketing isn't sleazy. People are. So you can market what you do authentically. Own what you do, market what you do, be authentic, and it doesn't have to be sleazy. You don't have to be a sleazy person to get paid and make money. What are your thoughts, Loretta?
Well, Branden, I love when I have a guest that makes me shout. And I have had to go off camera because I have been shouting. Okay. I've been like, oh, this man is a preacher. You are. I love it. I love it. Yes. Yes. And something you said, I wanted to share, because the reason why I'm so strong on this, and you, Branden, is because this has been an issue for me. I've had a hard time accepting payment, a hard time. And I had a mentor who was like, Loretta, you got to take something. You have to, or people will not value your services. And he was absolutely right. When I was in a space where I would not charge, or I would charge so little, I had people not show up for the appointment. I had people not take me seriously. We relate worth to money, to resource. That's also how the client is wired up. And so what you said is absolutely right. If there is no investment, then there is no motivation to see something through, because nothing was given, to get it. Yeah, and so they don't value it. So you're absolutely right.
And they don't value it, and it's your responsibility, like, to charge, so that they do value it, so that they do benefit.
That's right.
So do you mind if we go through some tips? I wrote some tips down.
Sure.
So these tips are how to confidently ask for money without shame and guilt.
This is going to help so many people. Like, I love it. Oh, yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
So, believe in the value of what you provide.
Mm.
Believe in the value of what you provide. So if what you provide isn't good, don't sell. It's unethical. If what you do isn't good and you're not good at it, okay, don't sell because it's unethical. If you're not good, get good. That's how you ask for money with confidence and pride. If you're not good, get good. How do you do that? Training, practice, practice, practice. And that will help you be able to confidently ask for money without shame and guilt. Rid yourself, here's tip number 2, rid yourself of an ulterior motive syndrome. Rid yourself of the ulterior motive syndrome. So money is a means for helping others through doing what you love. So you can own that authentically. Money is a means for helping others through doing what you love. So if you want to do what you love and be financially independent, be able to pay the bills, and be able to really help other people transform, you have to rid yourself of this ulterior motive syndrome. Like, oh, I'm going to, help you, and I do X, Y, and Z. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I want to make money. So you have an ulterior motive, right? Don't have an ulterior motive. Just be upfront with it and own it authentically. That I want to make money through helping other people and doing what I love. There's no ulterior motive there. It's just your motive, right? Own it.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 3, don't be greedy by trying to get money wherever and whenever you can. Don't be greedy by trying to get money wherever and whenever you can. So be highly selective on who you allow to pay you.
That's huge.
Thoughts, Loretta?
That's huge.
Be highly selective on who you allow to pay you.
Yes.
Don't be greedy by trying to get money wherever and whenever you can. So you're not here to serve everybody and get approval. When you're not here to want a person's approval who's not willing to pay you. Like, oh, I don't want to ask for money because this person is going to disapprove of me. And they're not going to agree with me asking them for money, for payment. So you don't want to work with people like that anyways.
Yeah.
You want to work with people who appreciate what you do and who want to pay you and who are ready to receive the gifts that you have to offer. And then finally, one more point is use authentic and truthful marketing strategies. So I got a comment in my Facebook group about that this person felt sleazy with marketing, and they were a healer, and it felt like asking for money just felt sleazy. Like she just wants to help people. She's here just to help people. And, she wants to get paid, but it doesn't feel right asking for payment because what she really wants is to help other people. But you don't have to, kind of goes back to the other point that, that asking for money isn't sleazy, but people can be sleazy. So use authentic and truthful marketing strategies, like share your story, your real story about who you are, where you've come from, and what you have to offer. And allow yourself to be vulnerable, to show who you really are.
Mhm.
and keep it real. That's what I got.
Well, sir, you got a lot of wisdom. Thank you for sharing.
My
That
pleasure.
helped
My
a
pleasure.
lot of people. I was just on a class, and all of us were in some capacity healers, and we were talking about this blockage, this, and clearing it, and seeing it as self-love. So this is timely. I think it's so significant. It's so timely because we are stepping into this fifth dimension where healers are going to be approached more and more. People are realizing they need something more. They're looking for energy work. They're looking to hear from spirit, from mediums and psychics, and the energies are more conducive for this kind of work. And so this is timely, and thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
This was very important. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I'm excited too.
Last words of wisdom. What are your last words of wisdom to the viewers? And then I would like for you to talk about the best way you could be contacted. And then a little bit, if you wanted to talk a little bit more about your website, what you do, so people can know how to engage with you.
Sure. I don't know whether or not to say something about forgiveness or the money piece, but maybe, if you harbor resentments
Mm-hmm.
to people in the past, like really figure out how to forgive these people as if it never happened. And that doesn't mean that I want, a child molester in my life, right? To use myself as an example.
Mm-hmm.
However, when I look back at this person that molested me, I don't see them with the same eyes that I used to. But anyways, so getting to a place where you can really let that stuff go, because it's a lot of baggage and it's a weight, and it keeps you locked into a limited reality. So do it for yourself and for the planet as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Process this stuff and let it go. Figure out how to do it. And then with the money piece, I would say to change your perspective on it, and to get down to a deep level with that, because realize that getting paid is a wonderful thing. You can be proud of being paid, be proud of what you offer, and it feels really good to be able to be paid and help people transform their lives doing so. It's a wonderful thing. So internalize it. Change your perspective. Internalize that being paid allows you to have a much greater impact with your family, with society, with your clients. It gives you greater time freedom, more energy freedom, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Did you want to say anything, get more about your website?
Yeah.
What is okay, here's what I wanted to ask you. Branden, what is your ideal client? Your people that you target with your business.
Yeah. Spiritual people who are heart-centered, who are genuine, caring, good people, who may have struggling with maybe low self-esteem, limiting beliefs. Maybe they want to start a business. Maybe they have a business, but it's not as profitable as they want. That's my ideal client. And I'm helping these people manifest their dreams.
I love it. I love it. And so I have, so you're on Facebook, right?
Branden Densmore, Branden. Branden Densmore. Feel free to shoot me a private message. And I think the link is going to be in the description to the video. So feel free to private message me, and or you can send me an email, coachbrandendensmore@gmail.com.
Perfect. Perfect. And yes, I will have all that information bottom of the screen and in the description box. It has been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure having you on. It really has. This has been a rich conversation full of impact. Full of impact.
I can feel it. It's like tingly.
Right, right. We just made a dirty thing clean.
Mm,
It's needed. It's needed.
yes.
So, all light workers out there, healers, give yourselves permission. And some people have a different, I understand that some people are guided and shown do not accept payment. And in those cases, don't. You're on a different path. But for those of us where it is a block, definitely think about some of the things that Coach Branden has shown. You have been coached today, given wisdom. I'm telling you.
Thanks for saying that too.
Yeah, for
Loretta.
sure.
About that it's not for everyone,
Yes.
because it really isn't.
Yeah.
You know, there's no one truth for everyone.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Some people are
Very true.
advised not to do it. So
Yeah.
and in that case, there is, but we're talking about the blockage. We're talking about those of us who have that blockage.
Yes.
And I've been there, Branden has been there. And so that's what we want to address. Okay, Branden, I have your closing remarks.
All right.
Okay. So, Branden, at some point in our lives, we have all had impactful experiences that forces us to wake up from our slumber and pivot to a different direction. And that is admirable. But you did not just change direction. You made it your business to take all of your brothers and sisters with you on your journey to enlightenment. It is not only the light parts of our spectrum of colors that makes us wise, but it is the heavy days, the dark nights of the soul, that we gain the gifts of compassion and depth. And Branden, you carry the energy of the solution because you have emerged through some of the most discouraging parts of our experience here on this planet. We so appreciate what you're doing in this spiritual space. Keep going, brother. Do not stop. You have the brilliance of the sun inside of you. And we are all warmed by your presence. So thank you so much for fighting to get back on this side of the veil. We need you here. Thank you for being here. And it's been an honor and a pleasure having you on the show. I feel like I've been to church.
Thank you so much for saying that. And I'm going to heed your advice and keep going.
Yes, keep going.
Thank you.
You pack a punch. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes, yes. I meant every word. And thank you all for joining us. Thank you for those of you who share the vibration of this channel. You are here because you vibrate on this level. And we all benefit from that. So thank you for being here. Share, please share, subscribe and like and all that stuff. Let's do this God stuff. Let's do this source stuff. Let's do this, whatever word we want to give it. Let's do this love stuff. That's why we are here. So we love you. I'm going to throw out the heart.
Amen.
You have an awesome heart. Thank you so much, y'all, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye.